My guest today is Taylor Otto. Taylor played college soccer at the University of North Carolina before being drafted by Racing Louisville in the 2021 NWSL Draft. She currently plays for Melbourne City in Australia's A-League. Taylor joins me today to talk about her financial experiences playing for different clubs across multiple countries around the world. And she shares how each of those experiences differed and impacted her financially. So here is my conversation with Taylor Otto. Taylor, thank you so much for being here. I know you're in season right now in Melbourne, Australia, so I'm very grateful for your time. And I want to come back to your decision to come play in Australia. But first, let's go back to Chapel Hill, North Carolina.
Yeah.
Tell me, when you were at UNC and preparing to go pro, did you feel like you had anyone that you could lean on, either within the program at the time, people who had previously played there, that could give you some sense for what it would be like financially to play professional soccer?
Yeah, I think I was really fortunate in the sense that I played at a school like the University of North Carolina, who's had quite a few pros prior to me. So they have quite a bit of experience, and Anton had quite a lot of stuff that he could share with us as players going into playing professionally. And I think I was lucky at the time that maybe I would be progressing professionally because it was in that in between of where people had been getting paid not much
Sure.
to that like it was like the start of like it getting better. So like I could see that, and I was like comfortable knowing that if maybe my first year wasn't making very much, it was going to progress pretty quickly, from what I had heard from players that were in the league already and players going into the league and our coaches and staff. So I think I was lucky to have that intel from all the previous players and the coaching staff that I was with.
Do you feel like that sense of an upward trajectory for
Mm.
the league and for salaries, did it alleviate any concerns that you had about going pro, or did you have like anyone else in your ear who was like, hey, have you thought about this? How this will impact
Yeah.
your life financially, both now and in the future?
Yeah, I think it alleviated a lot of the pressure for me. I was also pretty fortunate that my family was very supportive and that like they knew that's what I've always wanted to do, what I love to do, and they never really kind of questioned the financial side. They were just kind of like go for it and see how it goes. If that becomes an issue, then you like run into it when it happens and you make that choice then. And I think it made me feel a lot more comfortable knowing that that was something that the league was trying to do, that the players were trying to do, and it was something that it seemed like people wanted to invest in, and it was going upwards. Whereas, like maybe a few years prior, might not have been.
Yeah.
Mhm.
How do you feel like reality matched those expectations that you had when you were coming out?
Um, it definitely was like the thing is at the time, this was like probably like 6 years ago. They were paying for our housing, and they were paying for all of like the extra little things, which made it a lot easier to live on the salary that they were giving us. It wasn't necessarily what we should have been earning and what people should still be earning, but it made it easier for that transition. And then there was also like opportunities for getting money outside of just your salary, which was starting to pick up at the time as well. So I think honestly, I didn't really have that much of an expectation. Like I just like knew I loved playing, and it was just kind of something that if it wasn't able to work and I wasn't able to do it, then I would just kind of have to make that choice when I got there.
Sure.
Yeah.
Both then and now, how often do you feel like you need to think about money during the season? And how would
Mm.
you compare that to what your financial life is like during the off season?
Yeah. I think, look, that's a hard question for, I think it varies where you are. Like I'm in Australia now where there's a salary cap and people don't really necessarily get paid well here. And you have like, if you're coming from America and maybe England and certain places, you're taking a pay cut 100% here, and it's not full time here. So you're not getting paid an off season. So it's definitely something you have to think about. You have to really like be careful about the money you spend, or if you want to be saving money and you need to be saving money for those periods of time where you're not getting paid. So I think for me, it's definitely something I have to think about quite often being here in Australia. Whereas when I was in the NWSL, I was getting paid every month of the year, so it's a bit different.
Do you feel like you were aware of those dynamics when you were in the NWSL and then, potentially considering playing overseas, or was some of that like learning on the fly and maybe a bit of a rude awakening once you went
Mm.
down that path?
It was definitely on the fly. Like I didn't anticipate it like 5 years into my career a bit kind of because like as you see like the game is growing so much and like the women's side is growing and people are getting paid more and in all of these different leagues. So I think it's been a unique situation for me because obviously like I want to get paid more and it's great to see the other leagues getting paid more and even my second from my first year to second year it was such a growth which was awesome, but I also had to decide was this something I wanted to do and I had to find somewhere that I fit and I was doing well and I enjoyed, and sometimes you have to take less financial money for that. So it just depends on what you want as a player and the situations you're in and what's presented to you. So, yeah.
Financially speaking, how would you contrast your experiences in Scotland compared
Mm.
to what you have now in Australia?
I think the pay was pretty similar. But I think I've enjoyed the league a bit more here, and I think the treatment of the players and the facilities and all those things is very good in Australia, which is something that I like value is like the way that like we're treated and like the style of play and all those types of things go into play. So I think financially it's similar, but I think I get more out of that money here. It's worth
Okay.
it here
And
to
you
me.
mentioned the guidance or some of the resources you had at
Mm.
UNC in terms of people to talk to. How
Mhm.
would you describe what that was like, um, across the NWSL, Scotland, and now Australia? Do you feel like you've had people along the way to help with each one of those steps, or has that varied by situation?
I think it varies by situation. Like I think going into professionally, I had that from Carolina. And then when you kind of move on from college, you still have them in the first like year or two, but then you kind of obviously like start to like not see them as much, speak as much. And then I think you really get a lot of advice from your agent if you have an agent that you trust and you like. And then I also like my dad is quite good at like giving me advice on those types of things when it becomes like money and like if it's worth it to me and just like that's the choice I want to make, then that's what I have to do and like I have to find ways to make that work for me. So I think I've had help from different angles in every place that I've gone.
Okay. I don't want to get too much into the financial weeds here, but I am curious to hear, each country has different tax
Mm.
laws and different
Mm.
investment options. Have any of those aspect of your finances caught you by surprise or proven as particularly difficult
Yeah.
in any one of those situations?
Uh, I taxes has been like the hardest part for me because everywhere you go, like I don't know. I just feel like, at least me personally, I didn't really learn much about it in school. So it was like, as soon as you leave, you kind of have to figure it out. And like when you're in the NWSL, every state you're in that you play in, you have to do it for that. And then
Mhm.
when you go overseas, you have to you get taxed in America and where you're at. So I think that's very difficult. And then you have to file your taxes in the country you're in. So I've had to get external help to do that just to make sure that I'm doing it properly because obviously like you want to do it correctly and not break any laws or
Right.
anything. So yeah, I that was like probably the hardest part.
How open do you feel like um, your teammates or other friends you have in the league are, and I know everyone's different, but at sharing those experiences so that you don't miss steps along the way, or you learn from what they
Yeah.
already went through.
I feel like in the women's game, it's like talked about quite frequently, to be honest, because I think like we're all on a stage where like the game is like continually growing and like you see all of like the Trinity Rodmans and like all of those types of things going on. So it's like pushing the game and like making sure that players are getting what they're worth. And those conversations happen like quite often, at least for me. Like I think people are like, oh, do you think it's worth this? Or I think they happen quite often. I think they're good because for the growth of the game, we kind of all have to come together and be like, hey, like this isn't good enough or it's not necessarily, oh, I'm making this much money. What are you making? It's more of like,
Sure.
hey, like, what are the standards here? Can we grow them? How should I go about this? Types of things. Yeah.
And so if if you were in a position to give some advice
Yeah.
to, particularly a rookie, is there anything looking back that you would have done differently or you wish you had known at the time?
Mm, I'm not sure. Like, I think it's a bit different now because I think, especially in America, they're getting paid quite well, and it's only going to get better, which is really good. But I would say you kind of have to make that choice of whether like this is like is money most important to you or is playing most important to you, because sometimes the money might not come right away with the playing, and it might come later or it might never come. And I think you really have to decide, like, is it something that you love, and is the money like all you're doing it for? I
Sure.
think that's something that I really had to decide.
Okay.
Yeah.
You mentioned a minute ago about, the different payment schedule in Australia. Do you feel like you've ever tried to prepare for either something like that or even like an injury that would keep you out for an extended period of time where,
Mm,
maybe your source of income, no matter what level it was at, would
yeah.
be threatened or reduced by that situation? Is that something that you proactively try to manage?
Um, yeah, like I think you kind of have to, because if you're not getting paid, especially here, like you're only getting paid 9 months, so you have to kind of already expect that you're not going to be paid for like a few months at a time. So I think inherently you start to do that anyways, just in case you don't have an income. And I think then when you have it, because I've been in that situation now, like if they change it here to being full time, then I think you still kind of like start to do that because you've done it in the past, which I think is kind of a good thing. It's not ideal, but you're a little bit better with your money because of it. But um yeah, I think maybe, I'm not really quite sure. Yeah.
Do you feel like it uh, inhibits your lifestyle in any way, like in a way that you'd rather not have? Like you travel less, or you buy some of the things you particularly like less because you know that you're in that situation.
Definitely, yeah. Like you have to. I mean, it's just like any other job. Like if you're not making an extraordinary amount of money to just buy what you want, you have to like think about the purchases you're making and whether you can make them or not, or what's more important and stuff like that. So I think, yeah, it's definitely something that is thought about.
And is it slightly easier to deal with because you have teammates in the same situation,
Mm,
or we see so many things on social media, related to what other people are spending or doing, or even like friends that you may have back at home, or family members. Who are
mhm.
the biggest influences on your spending and saving habits, and whether you wish you could be doing more or something differently?
Yeah. I mean, I think all of like our team, especially in this league, like there's very few players who get paid quite a bit because of the salary cap.
Hmm.
So I think everyone's like in a very similar scenario. So I think everyone kind of like jokes about it, and we all kind of have to like live the same lifestyle anyway. So it makes it a bit easier. But I think probably with everyone, like other family members have regular jobs that get paid like a normal way and a normal amount of money. So they're probably a little bit more like, oh, like, are you sure you want to do that forever? Like, you're getting older. Like, you definitely get some of those comments, and not in a negative way. They're obviously like looking out for you.
Yeah.
But I think you do hear it from that side a little bit. That makes you go, oh, like maybe I need to, maybe I'm getting a bit too old for this or whatever. So I think that's maybe it, but not in a super like negative way.
Yeah. That
Yeah.
actually ties into something else I wanted to ask. Do you ever try to prepare for life after
Mm.
soccer at this point in time, or do you feel like it's premature to do that?
I think like you obviously have thoughts about like what you want to do after, maybe, or like what it'll be like after. But I find it hard because I don't see myself not playing in the near future. So it's like difficult to like fully prepare. I feel like when you get maybe to like a year before or whatever, you kind of start to be like, okay, I'm gonna get myself involved in this and that. And I probably should do it earlier, but yeah, no, I don't really think about it too much or in depth.
So it's fair to say you're not doing anything differently financially for when those days come, however far off they may be.
Yeah, probably not.
Okay. Okay. Uh, what what advice would you give to someone who's considering going overseas and has never done so? What do you feel like might be the 1 to 3 biggest financial considerations to keep in mind outside of the
Mhm.
soccer fit or the professional fit?
Yeah. I think, well, I never wanted to go overseas, and I ended up just doing it because of the situation I was in, and I'm really glad I ended up going overseas. But the the one thing I didn't do was the um the rates of the monies.
Yeah,
Yeah,
the
like
exchange rate. Yeah.
yeah, I never like looked into that before I did stuff. So that's like a big one that you should look at. And then I just think if you like love playing and then maybe it's not working out in whatever country you're in or in America, it's not working out, like going overseas has been like one of the best things I've done. So if you love the game, like, and it might not financially be perfect for you or like the best option, like I think it's worth the risks to go, because at the end of the day you can retire whenever you want, you can be done whenever you want and go home and try to do something else. But I think you see the world doing something that you love, and I think you'll sort it out. You'll find a way. Yeah.
I want to end with two smaller questions.
Mhm.
What is one of your favorite things to spend money on, and what is the purchase that you most often regret after you make it?
Yeah. Well, I like live in my own apartment now. Me and my partner moved into our own apartment, so we just like love buying stuff for the house and like decorating. So it's like my favorite thing to buy stuff for now. Um, and I often probably regret like clothing purchases. Like I love buying clothing, but then I'm just like, oh, I probably didn't need that, and I probably won't use that as much as I spent the money on it. So that's probably usually my most regretted purchases.
Okay. I
Yeah.
actually want to ask a follow-up or a question or two about something you just said.
Mm,
How would you So you had team provided housing
mm,
at one point in time.
yeah.
How does that financial dynamic compare to going off on your own and deciding
Yeah.
to rent your own place? What went into that in your thought process?
Well, here in Australia, at least at the club we're at, but I think most of the clubs, like, you still have to pay for housing when you're with the team, but it's just like a lot more reduced, which is nice. So it makes it a lot easier. But going out and moving into a different place, it was easier for me to do it with someone else, because obviously we would be sharing the cost. So it makes it easier for me financially. But I don't think that I would be able to do that by myself.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then without getting too personal, so feel free to answer whatever part of this you want. Um, what type of conversations do you feel like you had to have with your partner, especially if there is an income discrepancy,
Mm,
kind of make sure that you were on the same page? Like, hey, we want to do this together, but this is my professional situation, my financial
mm.
situation. How can we make this work as like a team?
Yeah. I think it's like exactly that. Like we kind of had to just be like, look, like this is what I get, and this is what I can contribute. So can we either have to find something that like is within that together, so we're both doing the same, or you
Hmm.
have to be comfortable with doing more, because I can't provide more, especially being over here. I can't work unless I'm working on my visa. I can only work for Melbourne City, so I can't get another job um, unless it's like overseas, like online from America. So it was just basically the conversation that you're saying. Like you just kind of had to talk about like, this is what it is, what works for us. If you're okay with that, if I'm okay with that, how I can help the most that I can with what I've got. Yeah. So I think it was that, and it was pretty easy. Like if you're honest about it, it becomes a pretty easy situation, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool. Thank you so much for sharing all that. Thank you for your
No problem.
time. And I wish you the best of luck the rest of the season.
Thank you.